The whole purpose of influencer marketing is to push more qualified people into your mid and lower funnel.
When you look at the metrics, usually you look search separate from social metrics, separate from commercial metrics. You need to put all those metrics together, and that's your cultural influence index.
The one measurable data point that I think can go across every marketing department is the average age or the median age of your consumer.
You really do need to allow that brand aesthetic is very interactive, very dialogue, and really gets filtered through subcultures. So you treat subculture as a creative partner, not as a target.
How would you manage brand safety in that? I don't know if you've got any thoughts.
That's a 30-minute conversation.
We'll have Andjelic, who's the Global Chief Brand Officer and named one of Forbes' most entrepreneurial CMOs and now shaping the brand transformation at Esprit. And Nathan Jun Poekert, who's strategist and advisor to leading D2C brands, known for his sharp takes on fixing the upper funnel and uniting organic, paid, and influencer. Sorry, my reading isn't so good after that. So please, guys, come on stage. Welcome.
Hey, so good to see you.
Good to see you. Oh, we made it. Great. Well, thank you very much. So this is going to be quite a fun one because we have kind of two people like Anna, you're coming at this from really all about culture. And then Nathan, you're very tactical, and just cutting through with some of your LinkedIn posts. I'm loving to see how this is going to interchange there. So going to sort of start off with you, Nathan, actually. First of all, if you had to sum up the state of marketing right now in one sentence, what would you say?
I don't know if it's one sentence.
You can have two.
The state of marketing is chaotic scrambling. That's the reality of it.
Why is that? But one sentence, that's a terrible question, isn't it? Think about it.
Really bad. I mean,
setting you up for failure.
The current state of marketing is basically almost 100% responsive at this point. We are, as I'm sure most people in this room are social focused marketers or in that realm, or you oversee social marketers. Not only are algorithms changing every 3 months, the prioritization, whenever Adam Mosseri's head pops up, everybody just gasps and what's about to happen? But then we're also just in this really, really polarized aspect in the US right now, where everything is politicized. Brands are completely vulnerable to being canceled. And you basically have to approach every single decision that's being made from the marketing end on, are we defended from something? Combined with, will this hit performance metrics? Combined with, is this optimized for the algorithm? Combined with, is this cost efficient? Combined with everything. So what we are being forced to do is we no longer almost have the ability to plan more than 3 months in advance, which is very, very different. And it's a fast shift and change just in the past 6 years. 6 years ago, you could sit in a planning meeting for the year and you would plan out your campaigns. It just, sensically, you can't even partner with a celebrity more than 2 or 3 months in advance because they could get canceled in the next 6 months. And then you have this campaign that was shot 5 months ago and you're sitting there and you're like, well, what do we do? Because we spent $5 million on this. Do we just completely pull it and it's a bottom dollar operating loss? Or do we actually run with it and scramble to find a new campaign? So long answer, chaotic.
He needs a podcast of his own.
This is not one sentence, that's for sure. We'll have to get that on for sure. And what's the sort of the clearest sign you're seeing there that they're losing the balance as well? Because if they're not able to plan ahead, how are they measuring it? What is the solution to that? Because that's mayhem, right?
There's several solutions that exist. One, and Anna can talk about this probably better than anybody that I've ever had, the pleasure of just viewing. I would say she posts on LinkedIn every 3 months, but every time it's just incredibly insightful.
Well, that's the algorithm, honey.
Anna's fallen out of my algorithm. It's but I say this as kind of the summation of what's happening in marketing is that we've lost the story and the story has become secondary to the dashboard. And starting with point A, which Anna can speak to, we need to remind ourselves that every marketing channel can fall under brand at some point. It's just everybody is currently operating in individual silos across the department, not just in your if you're focused on upper funnel, like you're already siloed at most social influencer, paid media, paid social teams are completely separate. We're in situations now where like affiliate is falling under performance. What? It's like, so when you have that happen, like it's almost impossible for everybody to fall under the same story. So I would say the primary fix is I'm not a fan of brand platforms just because you sometimes have to throw them out after 3 months. But in the very least, everybody has to be reminded constantly what the mission of our brand is and what our purpose is.
I mean, so yeah, to unite people around that. It's like, think about it. If you're trying to get someone to advocate for you or just to follow you or to share, as we were saying there, it's like, first of all, what is the purpose? Is this something that I align with? Because when you share something with someone, like if you're putting your personal stamp on it, you're making their story your story. And if you're just obsessed on those kind of micro level, those metrics, it's just about, oh, here's the product and it's conversion, then you miss that narrative. And now I love what you're saying there about the kind of like the crossover. And actually, Anna is one of the best at talking about this because you came on the podcast couple of years, 2-3 years, 2023, I think. Yeah, it was that long ago. And I quote, problem is that they're talking about brand and performance. So the problem is that they don't work together. Still to this day that they usually sit under different departments. One sits under marketing, the other sits under e-commerce or whatnot. And they compete for a budget and they compete with each other and they don't amplify each other. And they have different time horizons, different goals and different KPIs. And that is a mistake. Pretty prophetic. So like, well done for that. I mean, because that's now something which we're like, oh yeah, shit, this is so real. But in 2023, that wasn't necessarily quite as aware as we kind of came from there. Like how have you seen that evolve since then? Like, are you seeing it differently? Are you just like doubling down on that? I'd love to get your perspective.
I don't think it's changed that much. And as Nathan was saying, it's kind of like, oh, why is affiliate under performance marketing? Because they just can't figure out where it sits, and it's kind of like, oh, but that's under P&L, and whatever is under P&L, that must be under performance marketing, under e-commerce. Everything that contributes to revenue goes under whatever can be measurable, and everything does not is under brand, which is obviously a giant mistake. It's just because you can't measure it doesn't mean it's not measurable, or just because you did not put specific KPIs in place. So when you tell your CFO, if you as a Chief Brand Officer, Chief Marketing Officer, you say, hey, you're not going to see any sales in 3 months, in 6 months, even in 9 months, just because the culture doesn't work that way. It's just going to take a minute for people to get the hang that you're doing something differently here. But that is because the brand, the business, and the product have to work together. Just putting a marketing campaign out there is not enough. And when you see, for example, Victoria's Secret had a show last week, and they're like, oh my God, this was such a success. It was a giant PR push. Absolutely was a success in terms of PR. But what now? They need to do every day, every week. They need to change their website. They need to change their retail stores. They need to change their merchandising strategy. They need to change their product pyramid. And that is the content that is happening, the social that is happening every single minute. And even then, it's not going to be by the end of this year, by the end of the next year. So we are talking completely new KPIs that have to happen.
What are those KPIs?
Well, those KPIs not necessarily have to be sales. You're going to say at the end of year 1, year 2, year 3, you're going to expect to see sales X times. But in between, we are going to see engagement. We are going to see traffic lift. We are going to see you're not going to put your product on sales 3 months later. You're going to put them 6 months later. You're going to have bigger traffic in your stores. This is, when you look at the metrics, usually you look search separate from social metrics, separate from commercial metrics. You need to put all those metrics together, and that's your cultural influence index. And no one on the dashboards have that cultural influence index together. You have sales, and then you have social, and then you have brand metrics.
So as I was referring to earlier, as mentioned, this kind of gross advocacy metric and kind of combining all the advocate metrics of EMV, plus you've got your revenue, plus you've got your content. if anything, it's just a way that you can measure the costs of what's going on and have a unified language so that the teams can speak together. And actually, you are able to create a campaign that works, or in fact, a strategy that works throughout that entire journey. Because I think kind of campaigns is another area.
Metrics are there. The problem is the departments have different metrics. When you go to the CFO, you don't say, hey, you don't expect, we have certain commercial metrics, which is we don't need to put those items on sale the same way we had to put them last year on sale, but it's just not how things were done. And that is the biggest challenge.
So all Anna had said earlier, because I work as a consultant on an individual basis. So I'll disperse one aspect, which is the thing that I communicate to every single one of my clients, every CMO that I work with right now. The one measurable data point that I think can go across every marketing department is the average age or the median age of your consumer. Right now, far too much weight, specifically in paid and performance media, is given to optimizations. What happens if you're familiar with paid and performance media? This is what happens when paid and performance media run optimizations based off of age groups. They turn off for the younger age group because they are not interacting with the ads and they are not leading to conversions. And they give prioritization to the older audiences. This is an automatic thing that media agencies do just to be able to protect their efficacy. So I always tell every client, you have to dedicate a certain amount of budget that is not going to immediately result in ROAS for targeting younger audiences, because almost every legacy brand that exists in this country right now is in a crisis because the average age of their consumer is pushing late 30s. And they know that in order for them to be effective, they have to start targeting 24 to 35, but they're turning off those ads and they're not allowing any of the people that are entering into their funnel actually be hit with high frequencies in order to be able to hit them. I could go into a long rage bait about like that they need to update their content as well when they're using this targeting and they can't use high fidelity ads anymore, but I'm going to digress.
I love that. And I wish you can talk more about it. But you know what I think the solution is? Not one a solution is that too often there are no personas and they look down on personas because agencies, specifically because they do want to have return on advertising spend that is optimized. But if they actually did optimize per age group, it will be more work for them. But it will be better for the client if you kind of fragmented the entire audience and you would see who are my most valuable customers in terms of cultural influence, in terms of product sales, in terms of propagation of the message. So you would kind of like assign value to different audiences based on different brand and business goals. But that's not how.
Yeah, because everything is just the bottom dollar at the bottom of the spreadsheet. That's the only line that when you do quarterly reports, that's the line they care about, is what's at the bottom. Like, we all have created massive decks that we all know C-levels and board members don't look at. Okay? It's like, and all they care about is, were we efficient and did we grow? And we usually scramble to show that we growed. And then we typically do a good job saying we were efficient.
Right, but efficiency is, is not the measure of success.
It's not a measure of success.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
And so why do you think this is the case? Because a lot of marketers, a lot of people probably here sort of came up as, D2C first brands came out when suddenly you could measure things. If you're kind of a millennial, later millennial, and like myself, like you were like, oh shit, I can measure things. This is such a big thing. And then suddenly it almost seems that there's an entire generation of marketers who forgot that things exist that you can't measure. And like that was 5 years ago that was the case. Like, what's happened in the past 5 years that's kind of led us to get to this point here?
We have so much measurability now, even in things that used to be not measurable. And so what has changed? Is that the question?
Yeah, exactly. And also, what has led us to this state of affairs in 2025 turning into 2026?
What's measurable is not necessarily what matters in business, So sometimes you're just measuring things in order to prove that you need to be kept as agency of record or just an agency. So, like the dashboard, if the dashboard looks busy, that means you're valuable, Or you're like, oh, look, but that doesn't ladder up to the business and brand goals. And that's exactly the problem, because what we were just talking about, those personas, then you have a marketing mix that is different for different personas, and not single agency can provide the entire marketing mix for all. And that's why they're like, everyone panics when the algorithm changes, because everyone is using the same media mix. And they're all competing with each other. That's why algorithm is changing. And house always wins. That's why Meta is $1 trillion brand, and you're sitting here.
I'll like simplify it a lot easier. Okay. If you work in social media marketing, whether it's influencer, so like organic or paid right now, are mainly organic and influencer. If you're still measuring engagement rate, I don't know why. Okay. And that's because 3 months ago, they said that the prioritization for algorithms are views past 3 seconds. So if you work in social media, chances are that you're looking at your dashboards and you're bewildered because you see some posts that are getting significantly higher views, but they have engagement rates that are like 0.95%. And you're like, well, why is this? And circling back to your question, it's because we're not evolving our measurement as quickly as the industry is evolving their prioritizations. And circles back to what I said at the beginning, which is it's just chaotic.
Okay. Well, I've got to shift gears a little bit. So like Nathan, you're famous for your LinkedIn posts that have become a bit of a therapy session for many marketers, I think, here in the room. So you list brutal truths that everyone reads and quietly nods along to. Can we do it live? What are your top 3 truths?
I mean, I just gave one, which is like, if you're measuring engagement rates still, I don't know why. We've talked a little bit about the siloed marketing departments. Raise your hand if you work in social marketing in some capacity.
So now who's going to raise it?
Yeah.
Oh, look. Why you guys fall for that?
How many of you have a very close a very close, positive, frequent working relationship with the person who manages your back-end digital analytics of customer conversions and their like profiles? Okay, so you are the necessary like geeks, because it absolutely is necessary, because for social to grow, because again, we know that social media is now globally the #1 ad spend platform by channel. It just overtook search last year. We know that influencer marketing is the fastest growing channel in the globe right now. It's growing at a rate of like 26% by budget per year. Okay. So the people who are close with their digital teams are knowing we need to show efficacy. And we need to be able to show that this is actually effective cost spend. The unfortunate part is that we are losing our soul in that process, and you are losing the ability to implement brand in that conversation. Is that you're just prioritizing clicks and you're not really prioritizing like, what are we building here? I think those are good.
They're pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm going to change gears. Do you want to add anyone to those there, Anna? Or...
I wanted to say, if they're not measuring engagement, what would you recommend them to measure, since it's changing so much?
Views past 3 seconds and total number of not followers views.
What was that last one? Total
not non-follower views. This is something, oh man, I feel so bad for everybody in this room. You have to measure this in the app. The dashboards don't give you this information. So right now, Instagram and TikTok are basically prioritizing how many views you get that are not following you. They will feed a certain amount of content to people who do not follow you based off of contextual targeting. Okay. The videos that go viral, it's funny because Lindsay had a stat up there that said like 1 in 5, consumers get their news from influencers. I'm a political influencer as well. Okay. So 600,000 followers across TikTok and Instagram. My videos that get over 1 million views are almost 99.7% non-followers. Okay. When a video goes viral, if you look in your Instagram or TikTok dashboard, like you'll see non-followers, because Instagram wants to become TikTok. They're slowly turning it into the For You page. That's why you have a Reels tab at the bottom. It drives me crazy because I don't know where my notifications are and I keep hitting the stupid like button at the top right still. I'll evolve. But that's how
age is showing.
What?
I said your age is...
I know, I'm 42 years old, you guys. It's like, it's getting tough to be in this industry. But yeah, so like those are the two metrics. Like if you're working in organic or even an influencer, like I would ask an influencer that you're working with, how much are you penetrating non-followers right now? Because specifically an influencer, like comments, most of them are your friends because you all are in a pod together trying to boost each other. It's like, it's true. It's like, likes, whatever. But like likes and comments are not actually eliciting the number of reach. The whole purpose of organic is penetrating with a new audience or actually getting your content in front of people. It's the tree falling in the forest paradigm. If the tree falls in the forest and nobody sees it, what was the point of making the post? It's like, so getting it into non-follower views will automatically boost it into your actual followers.
Love that. I would actually see that a lot. We were having a conversation last night at dinner, and the advocates or the creators that a brand typically doesn't want to work with, a university across all the programs that I work on are always the ones that go viral. Like it seems to be that this kind of curation process from a brand side is, yes, obviously, like those are people you want to build the culture of the brand, which we'll talk about in a second. But actually, from a commercial perspective, what is going to go viral? What's going to get the algorithm going? It's like almost, in fact, it is never the one that you choose, and therefore it becomes a little bit of a game of actually how many shots at goal can you have to actually find the one that's going to be successful, yet actually doing that in a way that you can manage your brand safety at the same time then becomes a complete nightmare. Because if you've got 1,000 or 10,000 people doing things, like how on earth how would you manage brand safety in that? I don't know if you've got any thoughts.
That's a 30-minute conversation. talk about brand safety.
It's a valid question. It's a valid question, but it's a kind of different panel, don't you think?
That's not. I do think it works in that side of it, because I think that what's quite interesting, because like you were talking about, so your newsletter, massive fan of like, you did a post yesterday, I think it was, around this concept of the social franchise, which is very similar to this. Like how are you working with creators, and there are arm's length, but they are associated with the brand. First of all, can you tell us, just tell us a little bit about actually how you see that working and evolving? Because I think it's a fascinating concept.
Like affiliate programs, like when you actually pay people and they go, actually, I don't remember what I meant by that, because I wrote like a while ago, but you know how franchise go, you partner with someone and you can either help them completely, like McDonald's, like you open completely and they provide the back-end support, so you kind of open risk-free business. That's what my Sephora storefront has done, is like you have creators and you open on Sephora site, you have a complete vertical integration, you promote Sephora products as if you open your own sort of brand, like open brand within Sephora brand. So you sell Sephora products, but you style them the way you want, you sell them the way you want, the messaging is yours, the look is yours, your personality goes through. So that's not the affiliate link. Affiliate link is just linking that goes to third party. You just get a percentage of that cut. Here, you're part of the business, really. So you have the entire earnings for whatever you are. It's just that you don't pay for costs of warehousing and any of that. So it's really risk-free. And I think that's kind of amazing model, because in all culture industries, all taste industries, food, fashion, people buy from people. And I think that is kind of the next level, not just in beauty. Beauty is a very good example, because everyone needs recommendation from each other when it comes to beauty, and everyone has their own personal looks that people identify with. They want to look like. Look, Hailey Bieber built her entire $1 billion valuation, $212 million in sales empire based on women wanting to look like her, having her skin. So in fashion, that can be the same thing, like style like myself, and you sell those products without actually having to buy that inventory. You just have a back end and you pull from that and sell. So I think that sort of decentralized models is actually genius, because you spread across without having to go into that vertical integration with ever better targeting, where you use performance media ever better, specific, and algorithms are pushing you around and making you change every time. Like this, you really diversify. And you see, oh, this person is really selling well. Let's double and triple down. Let's give her more stuff. This is not. Let's kind of like eliminate them from the portfolio. But that portfolio approach is where the brands are going in their model, like brand endorsement model, rather than that vertical integration that we've seen before. And then I would say about brand safety, just really quickly, it is a problem because of the algorithm, because of the keyword search. You know how Will Ferrell recently had that 6-year-old, 9-year-old landlord, 12-year-old landlord. Next thing he knew, there was like a children porn advertising there because of the keyword search. Because the internet is what ruined everything. Basically, you always common denominator.
Right, the day.
More interesting everything. Like the t-shirt, yes. So it's the lowest common denominator. Like look it up. It's like it's a sketch comedy. So on YouTube, it's like 12-year-old landlord. Because it's a 12-year-old, all of a sudden the internet, God bless, starts serving you, lowest common denominator.
And so how does that applies with kind of like just the internet just being a bad place with keywords, but like if you've got these sort of franchisees in this portfolio approach with a lot of people, like how much do you think brands should be getting involved in the narrative of what those people say? So any of us can sign up to a Sephora storefront. We are actually not endorsed by the brand in that sense there. Like where does the line step with the brands being like, well, okay, this doesn't represent us, this does represent us, and how do you kind of recommend brands navigate that?
That you need to meet certain criteria. It's not about there needs to be alignment in values, it is aesthetic. Obviously, you're not gonna, but that's the same thing as with franchises. Clearly, you're not gonna display like some paraphernalia from Second World War or whatnot, But they're like you need to kind of like meet specific aesthetics. Yes, I didn't say it on purpose. Brand safety. So there are, but again, there needs to be some sort of trade-off in a sense if you're going to have a portfolio and if you want in this really fragmented culture, which TikTok is really showing us how it works, if you want to meet those taste communities and niches and subcultures, you really do need to allow that brand aesthetic is sort of very interactive, very dialogue, and really gets filtered through subcultures. So you treat subculture as a creative partner, not as a target, which brands now do.
Fascinating. So I think, and Nathan, by the way, if you have any other questions, for them, we'll be using Slido, so you can just scan that and pop them in and ask a couple of questions in a second. So Nathan, you said that organic, paid, and influencer needs to be on the same page. When we're talking about something like here with social franchise, and we've got culture, those who are trying to build culture, we've got those that are driving more of those performance revenues. And actually, how do you actually recommend that brands unite that across, like actually building out a strategy? Is this something that starts at CMO level, say this is what we want to do? Or actually, is this something you can actually have the different teams segmented and working towards it?
So CMOs today, they have to have social media literacy at least at an associate manager level. It's like, otherwise, it's just going to be lost. You're going to spend more of your time trying to explain what you're doing than you are actually able to do things. So, like, it can be a chief brand officer, it could be a chief communication officer, it's usually a chief marketing officer. Like, they have to have basic understanding of social literacy. In terms of cultural impact, like a lot of marketers can handle the performance and can handle the numbers. They can handle the aspects of like, how do we show efficacy? I can build models in Excel. I can work with our digital team and we can show how like this is effective and we're growing in certain age demographics and we're growing in reach and blah, blah, blah. The second challenge is in terms of uniting is you have to be culturally relevant because otherwise you're pouring money into things that are not like actually going to do anything. Okay. Somebody in the room, and it's usually the VP of whatever team, needs to be able to say, hey guys, you know what? I don't think spending $100,000 on a top view TikTok ad is going to be good if we use this commercial. And that starts at the top. Now, I'm not going to go as far as saying I'm not going to hardline dig my heels in this, but I am at the point now, just with the way that algorithms are working, with the fact that social media is the almost core channel to actually build brand advocacy, brand efficacy, brand love, brand affinity, all of those things. People are turning to social media because it's the one place where they want to kill a brand, and it's the other place where they want to fall in love with a brand. Okay. The VP, not the CMO, they have to at least fundamentally want to understand, and this is something that just happened in the past 24 hours, they have to at least understand or get what Group 7 means, okay? Like, and I have to train a lot of senior marketing leaders on like, you need to know what Group 7 means. You need to know what RIS is. You need to know what like 6-7 is. Why are kids just walking around saying 6-7, 6-7?
And why you shouldn't say that as well.
It's like, so like, that aspect is so important because if social is moving at the speed of culture and culture is moving at the speed of social, okay, you have to basically have that level of literacy so that you can just let your teams do what they need to do. But to get back to your point, okay, they have to work together at the very least. And again, this is one of the most unpopular things that I say. At the very least, organic and paid have to sit next to each other. They just have to. It's not possible to be able to get the TikTok code and boost it within 24 hours because it's doing well. It's not possible to gift the influencer who has a viral post almost immediately. It's not possible to reach out to the Group 7 person immediately unless you have the dollars. Who controls the dollars? Paid media controls the dollars. Very few organic social teams. I think I was one of the few people in my industry when I was running social for the brand that will not be named. It's like I had an $800,000 a year boosting and quick response budget that just sat there for me to be able to just immediately like do something as quick as possible. That's really hard. I come from a paid and performance media background. I was able to prove that it was necessary. But the paid and organic teams, in the very least, have to communicate with each other. We all know that user-generated creator content works better than campaign content. We all know that. But the paid media teams are just kind of taking what they get from the creative department and they're just shoving it in there. This is where we actually start to at least build the foundation of trying to actually not be so siloed anymore.
And yeah, that goes back to the portfolio approach. You see what's performing well, you put money against it, you amplify it. What's not, you kill it immediately. Why would you waste money and time on underperforming things? And that's that real-time nimbleness, real-time responsiveness that very few departments are set up for.
Well, actually, the question is co-relevant to that, which is how can you achieve ROI in a paid influencer campaign if consumers can easily recognize it as a sponsored video? So you're going to have the ones that are going to go viral, and then but some of those are going to be the paid for ones. Like, how actually can you make that real? Well, I mean, how are you going to get the ROI? Sorry.
Oh, just ignore him.
Yeah.
It's not my question.
Influencer, in my opinion, is upper funnel. Okay. Upper funnel is awareness building. Okay. We're holding influencer marketing to performance marketing KPIs, and it just doesn't really make sense in the grand scheme of things. Like, the biggest question that CFOs often give is, okay, you want a $2 million influencer budget next year. How's it going to lead to sales? You can finagle it and say, we're going to dedicate X amount for TikTok where they tag the video and it'll immediately drive, but the reality is, in terms of like ROI, is that you just have to be willing to accept that what we consider to be return on investment 5 years ago is not what we consider to be return on investment today. It goes back to the original question, which is measurement is still being stuck, specifically in media agencies, in KPIs like CPC, like CPMs, like CPAs that I was using when I launched Starbucks' first iPad ad back in like 2010. That's how long ago, like in terms of performance metrics. And we're still using those same metrics to show effectiveness in media. So like we have to evolve the KPIs in order for us to actually show the ROI. Like you have to convince them, our ROI for this is how many views did this actually get where people are actually engaged? Did they watch past 3 seconds? Did we actually did the collaborative post actually lead to us getting a higher number of followers that are in a younger demographic over the course of 3 or 4 weeks? ROI just cannot be measured anymore to, did it lead to sales? Like, the whole purpose of influencer marketing is to push more qualified people into your mid and lower funnel. That is, in my opinion, the purpose. You're just trying to get them to the website so that your retargeting can kick in. I used to say all the time in these meetings all the time, I was like, did not make me popular internally, but I used to say all the time, I don't care what happens once they get to the website.
No, I think that's very true. And I would also say not just any place to the website, PDP. Because forget about homepage, forget about PDP. They need to go PDP. Otherwise, because that's what search optimizes, that's where social optimizes. Get to PDP, that is your new homepage. Because then you provide contextual context there. And where do you go from there? That's, again, not your job, but e-com job. To cart, and then it's retargeting and so on.
Does everybody know what PDP is? Okay, great. I spoke at a conference a couple of weeks ago, and I found out nobody had any idea what I was talking about. So, make sure.
No, we've got a lot of questions coming here. So we've got any markets. If socials go more private, how and what should brands be thinking about in 2026? Should we be thinking about a close friend strategy more private? Yeah,
like close, like private accounts and so on.
I prefer broadcast channels over close friends. To be honest with you, I think they're more effective. We launched a close friends channel. It was very successful. I don't know if it's capped at 5,000 anymore. It was very successful because we announced sales the day before they were. It's like, so horrible task of working with our digital team to actually turn on landing pages where people could actually have A/B splits of like getting to access to the sale. But it also was really effective because I can admit this now because I'm outside of my non-disclosure agreement scope, but like we would literally tell our close friends that if they comment on this post, they could win a $100 gift card. That was when engagement was important. But it was a way of and we basically acquired close friends by who's tagging us. Because if you're tagging us in content, you clearly love us because you're a brand advocate for us. It was a way for us to basically figure out how to reward people who are organically amplifying us without even us asking them to do it.
And I believe in lower funnel. I believe more in memberships and in-person meetings rather than focus. This is for me a tactical question. It's actually a matter of strategy. And your strategy, if everything goes private, yes, you're going to have private clubs, you're going to have member clubs, you'll have invite only, but you're going to have analog culture. You're going to happening in the real world when you see running clubs, book clubs, you have all sorts of clubs. Then you're going to think instead of influencers, which is for broadcast, I absolutely agree, you're going to have who are my community leaders. This is different dynamic. It's still going to get you your goals, but you're going to have loyalty, you're having bonding, advocacy, that's deeper in the funnel, and then you're going to have a membership. And then when you have membership, you have a completely different reward structure and different relationship. So it's not about close private groups on social. It is what are you doing with that membership structure, and that unlocks completely different monetization and brand relationship opportunities.
I'm going to add on that. The most untapped opportunity in social marketing in the United States of America is mom Facebook groups. I'm serious. Like 2 reasons. One, they are in constant communication and dialogue with each other. They literally can recommend a new car seat and everybody will buy it. But not just that, what you just said, millennial aged women in the United States of America control household spending incomes. It's so if you can figure out a way to unlock mom Facebook groups, which are closed private groups,
it's not mom boss, it's
you can explode.
Yeah.
And when you've identified who those the leaders in those small groups, whether on the Facebook group or any of those things, what would be your tips to people for holding on to them, celebrating them? Do you put on events for them? Do you build different mailing lists for them?
All of the above. And it's not about just them, it's about the entire groups, because then groups gets bigger, groups connect to each other. It's about tastemakers group. It's about connection. It's about how do you create different charters. It's fan-made communities, fan-made brands, and how do you manage fandom? And that's a different, again, strategy. It's not right for all brands, but it's a strategic decision for it.
And like, in case you did not know this is literally how Stanley started.
Oh, yeah.
Stanley started with a group of Utah moms who were in message groups with each other. Okay. I'm not saying it's how Stanley originated. I'm just saying it's how they exploded. Because they basically went to Stanley, offered them advice about different things they needed, like adjusting the size at the bottom of the cup, like doing different things. But like Stanley penetrated mom Facebook groups, they penetrated the mommy blogger, and then they became the official spokes cup of women in America.
Well, on Spokes Cup, we are at time. So thank you very much, Anna and Nathan. Can we have a massive round of applause, please? Thank you very much. Fantastic.
That was another episode of Building Brand Advocacy, the world's top brand building podcast. To find out more about building brand advocacy and how this podcast is part of a bigger plan for our brand building cookbook, then make sure to search for Building Brand Advocacy in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else that podcasts are found, and make sure that you click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks to Duel for sponsoring. To find out more, go to www.duel.tech, that's duel.tech. And on behalf of the team here at Building Brand Advocacy, thanks for listening.